Two Algarve properties can look almost identical. Same price, similar finishes, and equally attractive locations. But 10 years from now, one compounds in value while the other quietly underperforms and drains capital in ways most buyers never anticipate. In a moment, I'll show you a real example where that gap only becomes visible after the purchase. When you evaluate a property, are you looking at how it appears today or how it behaves as an asset over time? In this video, I'll show you a simple decision framework for evaluating property as a system, so you can identify those hidden performance differences before you commit. Because most buyers assess what's visible, the design, the layout, the location, but overlook how these elements interact over time. A property isn't just structure, design, or management. It's the interaction between these components. And it's that interaction that determines whether it remains efficient or gradually becomes structurally demanding over time. This perspective comes from over 35 years working with complex systems as an engineer, and it translates directly into property. Across Vilamoura, Quarteira, Quinta do Lago, and Vale do Lobo, I've seen a consistent pattern. Buyers often assess the individual elements correctly, but rarely evaluate how these systems perform as a system over a 10 to 15 year horizon. If you want to apply this framework yourself, you will find a structured reference in the description to guide the evaluation process. Every property begins with structure, not just materials, but execution quality. In the Algarve, two 800,000 euro properties can appear functionally identical, yet small differences in alignment, detailing, or build precision can compound into stress points, maintenance issues, and long-term inefficiency. Orientation is often underestimated. Sun exposure and seasonal light patterns directly influence scuffant, usability, and energy performance. A property that feels optimal during a short visit can behave very differently across seasonal cycles. Coastal properties are not neutral systems. Salt air, wind, and solar exposure act as a persistent environmental forces, impacting materials, maintenance cycles, and long-term operating costs. Proximity to the sea is not a disadvantage, but it must be structurally accounted for from the outset. Layout determines how a property is actually lived in. Two properties with identical square meters can perform entirely differently. Inefficient flow or suboptimal spatial design leads to underutilized space and ongoing functional compromise. For apartments and managed developments, the financial structure is critical. Reserve funds, planned capital works, and management quality directly influence long-term cost exposure. A lower purchase price can, in many cases, translate into a materially higher lifetime cost. Where most buyers make errors is here. These elements do not exist in isolation. They interact as a system. A visually strong property with weak orientation, elevated environmental exposure, and underfunded reserves may appear attractive at acquisition, but progressively becomes high maintenance and operationally unpredictable. Individually, each factor may appear minor. Combined, they create compounding friction, financially, operationally, and over time. I recently worked with a buyer comparing two properties in Quarteira. The first property was visually compelling. South-facing, recently renovated, and strong on initial inspection. But when assessed as a system, there were clear risks: overheating dynamics, coastal exposure stress, and a layout that reduced long-term functional efficiency. The second property was less visually striking, but structurally more balanced. A better orientation control, reduced environmental exposure, and a more efficient layout configuration. Over time, it offered greater predictability and lower maintenance variance. A property can be structurally sound and still be the wrong acquisition if it is misaligned with your objectives, time horizon, and risk tolerance. When you evaluate a property as a system, you are not simply buying a home. You are taking exposure across structure, finance, environment, and usability over time. If you are considering buying in the Algarve within the next 6 to 24 months, this framework can help reduce avoidable mispricing of risk and improve decision predictability. After evaluating a property, the real question is, does this system support your long-term objectives, or does it introduce structural friction over time?